So, welcome to those of you watching on replay. Just to give you a bit of an overview of what to expect today, we are going to be, first of all, looking at what does this even mean? And what is our self-worth? And how actually we have far more power, far more control than we allow ourselves to believe when it comes to this topic. So we'll be going through some fundamental principles that we really need to understand in order to undertake this work. And then we will be going through a practice together where we will be doing the work that you can come back to. And what I will say is this is an ongoing practice. This isn't something you do once and by God, your self-worth is, through the roof. It's ongoing work. It's mindful work. It's being mindful once you have been doing the practices of how you can bring it into the day-to-day. Chill, sorry for no camera. I'm in and out and just grabbing some lunch, but I thought I'd try and catch a little bit of this live. No problem, lovely. I so hope you managed to enjoy it in between the lunch and don't brush your lunch. Sharon, looking forward to today's session. Unfortunately, can't join with video, but you hope to contribute. That would be fabulous. I love interaction. As you all know, I don't want to be sat here preaching. I like to hear from you too, and I like to hear whether it's resonating, whether it's making sense. I'll just make sure I'm letting everyone in that's in the waiting room. So, shall we dive in? Actually, before we dive in, shall we just take a moment to settle in properly, to actually come into this space? So I invite you to take a moment to close your eyes and just bring your awareness to that breath in the belly, that gentle rise and fall. And just noticing how that breath is serving you in this moment, and you don't have to do anything. You can relax and just let your body do the work. We don't need to control it or want the rhythm to be a particular way. We can allow it to be whatever it is in this moment. And allow it to anchor you into this moment, letting go of anything that's gone on before today. Any concerns about the future, we can just let them go for the moment. And allow ourselves to rest with this rhythm of the breath. And if you find your mind's particularly busy today, or your body is trying to distract you with pain or discomfort, no, that's perfectly fine, perfectly natural. Just gently redirecting your attention back to that breath in the belly, allowing everything else to just drop away. Often, if we're new to these practices, we can get a little in our heads about whether we're doing it right or if there's a proper way to do it. Now, I invite you to see if you can just let that go for the next hour and just allow yourself to be open to whatever you experience in whatever way feels right for you. And taking a moment to consider, what's your intention for this next hour? How do you want to show up? How do you want to be? How do you want to feel? And allow that to settle into your heart space like a little seed being planted, ready to bloom during our time together. And as and when you're ready, slowly opening your eyes, coming back into the room, back into this space. So, before we dive into the practice, there's some fundamental points we need to touch on in order for this to make sense. So let's touch on those now. The first one being this idea that our thoughts and feelings create our external environment. And at first, that can be, I'm sure it's not to many of you, I'm sure many of you are very familiar with this, especially those of you that have been in my world for a while. But at first, this can be a bit of a strange concept for us to get our heads around. We can feel like our external environment is nothing to do with us and we just have to deal with it. But if we think about this on a really practical point of view, if we think about the thoughts and feelings that we have throughout the day, those things will dictate our behavior. So it will dictate the energy we show up in. It will dictate the level of commitment we have with things. It will dictate the things that we're willing to say yes to and the things we're willing to say no to. So whether we believe that all our thoughts and feelings manifest everything in the external environment, to a certain degree is irrelevant. But we do know that they certainly have a huge impact on our lives. If we think about this in terms of our relationships, if we're in the thought pattern and the feeling of, say, an example to your husband or partner or wife, oh, they don't do anything, they're never doing anything to help me, and I'm always having to do everything, and now I've got to run around and do all of those things, and they don't appreciate me. Then we're not going to be showing up in the energy of someone that's going to respond to us in a loving way. If we think about this in terms of if we were in a really beautiful energy, a really beautiful thought pattern, a really beautiful feeling in our body around our relationship, then we might wake up and think, oh, do you know what? I'm so blessed to have them in my life. And then the way that our actions towards them will be different, would be very different if we were in that resentful type energy. This is the same if we're doing something practical like running a business. I've got a few clients at the moment that are starting businesses, and one of the things that we can get in our heads around is this feeling that we should be perfect and have it all sorted and know exactly what we should be doing and having it all figured out. And then what can happen is it stops us from taking action, because we get into that mindset of, what if I fail, and what if I'm judged, and all of these fears start creeping in. Yet if we went into that from a place of, do you know what, I'm worthy no matter what. And if this doesn't work out, then that's not a reflection of my worth or my value. That's a reflection of something I'm still figuring out, and that's okay. I'm hoping that's making sense to you, this idea of our thoughts and feelings having a direct impact on our actions, and therefore that having a direct impact on our life. Then the next point I really want to touch on is that our thoughts and feelings aren't true. They aren't something that's set in stone. They aren't static. They aren't this truth. And this was something that I really struggled with over the years. I thought those thoughts that told me I weren't enough, that I wasn't good enough, that I wasn't capable, were somehow true, somehow set in stone, somehow who I was. So as you go into this, I invite you to see if you can loosen your grip on if that's something you believe, around your thoughts and feelings being true, being who you are. What I do know is our thoughts and feelings ultimately create what we might term our personality. But again, that's not a static thing. That's something we change and adapt. And we know this through, yes, ancient wisdom such as Buddhism and Vedic knowledge, but also neuroscience. You know, this is stuff that's proved. And fundamentally, it can change. We can rewire it through practice. So you may be thinking, what's any of that got to do with my ancestors? So let me just go there. In terms of our ancestors, so if we think about these thoughts and feelings that we have, and I talked a lot about this in recent social media and recent posts. We will have these things that we've observed, that we've seen other people demonstrate, which has been passed down through our lineage. And so inadvertently, these things we took on as truth. Some of them often are not conscious. They're just things that we do. They're things that we believe, and we don't even know we believe them. They're dictating the show in the background. They're there telling us how to show up, how to behave, the things that we should believe. And often we can find there's similar patterns, similar themes that run through certain lineages. And as women, that might be things such as men's needs are more important. A mother always puts the family first. A mother's needs comes last. I would love to know if any of those are resonating with you, whether they're things that unconsciously perhaps you realize you do believe, or you have held on to. One of the other things that we often believe or show up for unconsciously is this idea that our worth is dictated to by how other people treat us. Our worth is somehow a reflection of perhaps the things we've achieved in our life, that there's some external validator for our level of worth. The truth is, and we'll all know this really, self-worth is a choice that comes from within. And then our self-worth becomes more stable, more strong, as we choose to let go of those beliefs and stories and thoughts and feelings that actually aren't serving us. And this can show up in the way that we talk to ourselves. So those times that we say words like, I shouldn't do that, or I should do that. I must do this. I can't do that. I have to do this. So whether that in day-to-day life might be, I have to do the cleaning before I'm allowed to rest. I have to get this job done before I'm allowed to do the thing that I actually want to do. I have to wait till the kids are grown up before I start that business I want to start. So this is really paramount when it comes to us creating the life we actually want to create. We need to look at this work, we need to do this healing, and need to put down the things that are no longer serving us. What I will say is we all have those stories, we all have those thoughts, we all have those feelings. The difference between the people that, I don't like the word succeed, because I think succeed is a very personal thing. Your success is down to whatever you want it to be. But the people that live that life that's aligned to them are the people that choose to do the things they want to do despite of the thoughts. So the practice we're going to be doing together today will allow us to consider what those thoughts are for us individually, how they've been holding us back. And then we'll be thinking about, so what might an alternative be that would serve you more? And we'll also be working with the ancestors so that actually we can send this healing not only to ourselves, and those of you that are Reiki trained may want to bring Reiki into this, and I'll let you know at what point that might be appropriate to send Reiki to your lineage. And then through that work, you'll have a real foundation that you can take into every day, something you can connect back into so that you can break the pattern, the addictive cycle of our old thoughts and feelings that may have been holding you back, and choose to step into this new one over and over and over again. And initially that will feel alien, and initially it will feel strange, and initially you might doubt yourself. But the more and more you practice, the more and more you rewire your brain, your system, to actually feel comfortable with this new way of being, this new way of valuing yourself and embodying self-worth. How is that sounding to everyone? I would love to know. Let me know in the comments if that feels like what you signed up for, or whether you're thinking, oh my God, I'm in the wrong place. Oh, you're all very quiet. Is that a good sign? Is that a bad sign? And apologies if you can hear my pup downstairs. She's in a very needy mood today. Very needy. She's got high levels of self-worth. She really does. Louise, I have no self-worth. Okay, we're going to address this point, Louise, before we move on, because it's really fundamental that we realize this fundamental understanding. Self-worth is not something we obtain. Self-worth is something that right in the beginning we fundamentally knew. So when we were first born, if we were hungry, we cried. If we needed the loo, we went to the loo. If we needed something, we shouted for it. There was no kind of thinking about, oh, am I worthy to have milk today? Am I worthy for that cuddle from my mum? Was I worthy to be entertained because I was bored? No, we just did it. It was just, I've got this need, someone needs to sort it out. then along the way, we were taught things that made us doubt that. But that fundamental self-worth is there. It's just been covered up. And that's how we have to think of it. It's not something we're trying to obtain. We're not grasping at something here. It's there. It's always been there. It's just got covered up by layers of learning, which we just need to unlearn and we need to let go of. And let's be honest, those layers, and this is where our ancestors fit in, those layers were passed down from our ancestors, often with the best of intentions, with the intentions of keeping us safe, of making sure that we didn't end up in harm's way. So some of the things that I unconsciously picked up on as a child and I've had to release and let go of so many times was things like play it safe. No, don't try anything new. You don't want to put yourself out there and be rejected. You know, that I don't want you to get hurt was really, and it was coming from a place of love, but this real understanding that actually just play safe, play the game, do the things that society tells you to do, tick off all the boxes, and then you'll be okay. And you know what? My family genuinely believed that was the best way to keep me safe and keep me in a good space. And they told me those things for the right reasons, because that's what they believed and that's what people had told them. And the thing is, at certain points in our lineage, that would have been a story that actually made sense. So, you know, if we think about going back really far back in our ancestors' time, we didn't want to be trying the new plants that might poison us. We didn't want to be going to new places where actually we might be attacked. The thing is, where we are now, that story no longer makes sense. So it's a conscious letting go, Louise, and it's not always easy, and it's uncomfortable, and it feels strange, and you wonder whether you're making it all up in your head or you're going a bit mad. So there has to be that element of trust that beneath all of this, you know fundamentally you are worthy. You just need to let go of everything that told you otherwise. I hope that's making sense, lovely. Jay, you're looking forward to experiencing the practice, see what it covers. So pleased to hear it, lovely. Louise, what if there's so many layers that it feels impossible to break through them? So depression is so deeply there. Okay, there's a couple of things I will say on that. Firstly, the work is never done, never. Like, unless we get to like the Buddhist or like Lord Buddha's level of enlightenment, there's always things to uncover. So that's number one. Number two, we choose to do the things we need to do anyway. So actually there's more I want to say around the word depression. There's different types of depression, very different types of depression. And there's some that are very chemical in nature. That doesn't mean that they can be just, you know, but we can also work with depression with our thoughts and feelings and how we show up. But what I will say is there's a very physical side to depression as well that we also need to treat in different ways. And as an Ayurvedic practitioner, I have perhaps different thoughts to some of the Western medicine views around that. However, I believe we have to deal with the whole when it comes to depression. It's not just a mind and emotion thing. It's not just a feeling thing. There's a real physical aspect to depression, and we need to look at it holistically. However, this is fundamental work in terms of that. So yeah, there'll always be layers. There's always more healing to do. Louise, I have days where I think, oh my God, I don't feel like I've got any value to give. Or, oh my God, I am the worst mother in the world. Or, oh my God, it's constant. Our brains are funny, right? They will throw lots up. But we don't have to choose to, but we don't have to choose to believe it. And we can choose to see. For me, one of the things that really breaks that cycle is seeing the funny side. So I will look at my brain and go, it's off again. It's gone off on a tangent. Or think of it like a toddler throwing a tantrum in there, and be amused by the ridiculousness of my thoughts sometimes. I would love to see how you find this, Louise. I'll be excited to see. So I invite you to get cozy, get comfy, get a little nest ready, and settle in. Just making some space. God, time is ticking on. I've been waffling too long, obviously. So yeah, take a moment to get comfy. You may want a blanket or a cushion. And as and when you're ready, taking a moment to close your eyes. And we're just initially going to come back to that breath in the belly. Allow our nervous system and our mind to just slow down a little bit. We're not trying to control them. We're not trying to force them, but just by this active awareness of the breath in the belly, it allows everything else to just calm down. Allowing ourselves to just surrender to this gentle rise and fall. And starting to notice if that breath is deep or shallow in this moment. Whether you're breathing more quickly or slowly today. Remembering that neither one of these is better than the other. They're all just labels to help us get curious. Noticing if that rhythm is smooth or a little bit more jittery. whether it's steady or creating a song of its own. And remembering if at any point we get pulled into thought, that's fine. Just gently redirecting your attention back to this rhythm. Sometimes our mind can be like a little toddler pulling at our cardigan, wanting attention. But we get to be firm and not get drawn in. Just allowing our awareness to rest with this breath in the belly. And bringing your hand to your heart space now. Noticing that feeling of touch. Noticing how your body responds. Noticing the temperature of your hand compared to the temperature of your chest. And bringing to mind now those thoughts that go on in your head for you personally regarding your value, your worthiness. Not getting pulled into them, but just notice, what do they say? What do you believe about how worthy you are to have nurturing, loving relationships? What do you believe about your worthiness to have financial abundance? What are the stories and thoughts that come up for you? What do you believe about your worthiness to chase after your dreams, to live a life of purpose and fulfillment? And asking yourself if there's any other beliefs and thoughts that need to be shown to you right now. And allow your intuition to bring them forward. Anything that's not serving you right now. And then we're going to bring our attention now to the area of the third eye. So, middle of the brow. And imagine yourself breathing in light into this area. There's an energy to it, a power, a force. And with each breath you take in, that power, that force becomes stronger and stronger and stronger. Breathing in more light, more power into this area now with each breath you take in. Till the strength of this area just cannot be contained any longer and projects out in front of you a tunnel of light. Allow yourself to walk through that tunnel of light now. Noticing up ahead there's a door at the other end. Walking towards that door. Noticing how it looks, what color it is, what it's made from. Noticing what type of handle it has. I'm reaching that handle now and opening up the door to a beautiful flower meadow. And you come out into the warm sunshine. There's a gentle breeze on your face. You see just on the left-hand side, there's a beach and waves gently rolling in. Take a moment to notice what flowers are growing here in this meadow. What can you see? You may hear birds chirping in the trees that are around the outside of the meadow. Allow yourself to just enjoy this place for a moment. Run your hands in the flowers. And you notice there's someone else in the field. And you start to walk towards them. You realize this person looks just like you. Except there's something a little bit different. She holds herself in a different way. The way she dresses, the way she stands, her expressions, her smile. There's an ease about her. She doesn't need to try hard. She's got nothing to prove. There's a confidence that just emanates from within. You can feel it. You can see it. And she starts to hold her hands out to you now, beckoning you closer. And she reaches out and holds your hands and is looking at you straight in the eyes. You feel safe. And you notice that there's actually more people in the field now, more people walking towards you both. It's all the people that have come before, your lineage, all the people that are willing you on to break the cycle they couldn't. And they stand round you and this other version of you in a circle, sending you love, sending you their strength, sending you their blessing to break this cycle, to do what they couldn't do, to let go of these beliefs, let go of these thoughts, let go of these feelings, to see yourself with the ultimate worthiness, to appreciate your value. And this other you reaches out her arms as if to bring you into an embrace, into a hug. And as she does that, you notice something feeling a little bit different. You realize she's disappearing within you, coming to live within inside of you, within you. And you notice your thoughts are beginning to change now. Those old thoughts that you've been thinking about, that you connected in with before, no longer seem so strong, no longer seem to matter. There's new thought patterns. What does this version of you, what does she know to be true about her worthiness to have loving, nurturing relationships? You feel that certainty within. That feeling of, well, of course. You consider these new thoughts around your worthiness to be able to pursue your dreams, to have purpose and fulfillment. And again, this feeling of certainty of, well, of course I would. I'm just as worthy as everyone else. And you consider your worthiness to have financial abundance. To have the money to not only do what you need to do, or do the few things that you want to do, but to feel financially secure and financially abundant, to know that you can say yes to the things that you really desire. And again, that certainty settles within you of, well, of course. Allow yourself to enjoy that certainty for a moment that anything is possible. You get to pursue your desires and receive them. And from this strength, confidence, certainty within you, you begin to channel this energy out to everyone else that's in this circle. Noticing like threads, golden threads moving from you to each of these people. These threads moving into their heart space, and you're just channeling out this energy of course you are worthy. Of course. Enjoying that feeling of not only knowing that you're healing yourself through this work, you're healing those before. And those of you that are trained and attuned to Reiki, you may want to bring this in at this point. Calling in the symbols that feel right for you in this moment. And sending that Reiki into these ancestors that have gathered here to will you on, to break the cycle they couldn't. And you notice one by one, these ancestors, their posture changes. You can feel that inner strength, that inner knowing that they're worthy of all they desire. Allow yourself to enjoy that moment, watching how your healing is not only helping yourself, but also them. And one by one, these ancestors now walk off, back in their own directions. Waving goodbye as they go. And you feel that energy of their support. Their love. You feel it flooding into you. And with this new feeling of worthiness, certainty, confidence, you begin to walk back to the door of the tunnel, back through the meadow. Opening up that door now, stepping back through the tunnel, back into the area of your third eye. Starting to notice the feeling of the ground or chair beneath you. Coming back to this heart space area now. Maybe placing your hand to connect back into your body. And bringing to mind all of those new thoughts that came to you as you thought about your worthiness around relationships, abundance, purpose. And making the intention to consciously lean into these. When you feel those old patterns, those old beliefs, those old stories, those old thoughts that aren't serving you, Know that you simply get to choose not to buy into them. And reiterate these new thoughts to yourself. And initially, that might be doing that every second, every minute, every moment. Some days might feel easier than others, but you know that you get to practice this, come back to this time and time again. And you'll start to see it reflected in your external world, reflected in your behavior, in your decisions, in the boundaries you choose to set. In the things you decide to pursue, in the time you devote to yourself, to your practices. And starting to notice that temperature of the air on your skin. You may want to bring your hands to your legs, gently massage them, just to bring a bit more life, a bit more energy back to the body. And as and when you're ready, bringing this new energy, these new thought patterns with you, opening your eyes and coming back to the outside world.